The rain hammered Chicago's streets like bullets, turning sidewalks into shattered mirrors, where streetlight reflections trembled like warnings. In the heart of the storm, beneath a narrow awning, stood Serena Hale and her 6-year-old daughter Lucy, homeless, desperate, and about to encounter the most dangerous man in the city. Lucy's small voice cut through the thunder. "Don't cry, Mommy. Maybe that man can help us." She pointed at the imposing figure emerging from a black SUV, Lorenzo DiCarlo, the Mafia boss who ruled Chicago's West Side with an iron fist. His dark eyes locked onto theirs, and in that moment, 3 broken hearts were about to collide in ways that would change everything. What started as a simple act of shelter would become an obsession that threatened to destroy them all. Because when a man like Lorenzo DiCarlo decides you belong to him, there's nowhere in the world you can hide, and nowhere safer you could ever be. Welcome to Passion and Power, where dangerous love stories come alive. Tonight's tale will take you into the heart of Chicago's underworld, where a mafia boss discovers that sometimes salvation comes in the smallest packages. Comment below which city you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. Your support means everything to our growing family here at Passion and Power. The eviction notice, still crumpled in Serena Hale's pocket, felt like a death sentence. 28 years old, college-educated, and she couldn't even keep a roof over her daughter's head. The Chicago wind cut through her thin jacket as she pulled Lucy closer, both of them shivering beneath the inadequate shelter of a downtown storefront awning. "Mommy, I'm cold," Lucy whispered, her small hand gripping Serena's with desperate trust that broke her heart. "I know, baby. Just a little longer, okay?" Serena fought back tears, scanning the rain-soaked street for any sign of hope. The homeless shelter was full. Her last $20 wouldn't cover a motel room, and her pride, what little remained, prevented her from calling her judgmental family who'd predicted this exact scenario when she'd chosen to raise Lucy alone. The storm intensified, sending sheets of rain across the pavement. Expensive cars glided past like sharks in dark water, their occupants safe and warm behind tinted glass. Serena had never felt the divide between Chicago's haves and have-nots more acutely than in this moment, standing in designer shopping district shadows with holes in her shoes and fear in her chest. That's when the black SUV stopped. The vehicle was pure intimidation, bulletproof glass, chrome details that gleamed despite the rain, and an engine that purred with barely contained power. It didn't belong on regular streets. In Chicago, cars like this had owners who commanded respect through fear. The rear door opened with mechanical precision. Lorenzo DiCarlo stepped out like he owned the storm itself, 38 years old, 6'3", with the kind of presence that made people cross streets without knowing why. His charcoal suit was perfectly tailored, his white dress shirt open at the collar, revealing a muscular chest and the edge of an intricate tattoo that snaked along his neck. A platinum Rolex caught the streetlight as he adjusted his cufflinks, every movement calculated and controlled. His eyes, dark amber flecked with gold, swept the street with predatory awareness before settling on them. Serena felt exposed, as if he could see through her carefully maintained facade to the desperation beneath. Lucy, with the fearless curiosity of childhood, stepped forward. "Mister?" Her voice was small but clear. "My mommy's crying. Can you help us?" Serena's face burned with mortification. "Lucy, no, I'm sorry, sir. She didn't mean to bother you. We're just—" "What are you doing out here?" Lorenzo's voice was low, commanding, with the faintest trace of an Italian accent that spoke of old-world traditions transplanted to American soil. The question hung in the air like a challenge. Serena lifted her chin, trying to summon dignity she didn't feel. "We're having a difficult evening, but we'll manage." Lorenzo's gaze moved between them, the woman trying so hard to appear strong while falling apart, and the child who looked at him with complete trust, despite being a stranger. Something shifted in his expression, a crack in the armor he'd worn for so long it had become his skin. "You're soaked through," he observed, his tone gentler now. "Both of you." "We'll be fine," Serena insisted, even as Lucy's teeth chattered audibly. Lorenzo stepped closer, and Serena caught his scent, expensive cologne mixed with something darker, more dangerous. Power, perhaps, or the promise of violence that men like him carried like cologne. "Get in the car," he said simply. Serena's eyes widened. "Absolutely not. I don't even know you. Your daughter is freezing." His voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "You can argue with me while she catches pneumonia, or you can accept help when it's offered." Lucy tugged on Serena's sleeve. "Please, Mommy. He seems nice." Nice. If only she knew that the man offering them shelter was Lorenzo DiCarlo. The same Lorenzo DiCarlo whose name was whispered in Chicago's darkest corners, who controlled territory from the docks to downtown, who could end lives with a phone call. But Serena didn't know any of that. She only saw a well-dressed stranger offering salvation on the worst night of her life. "Just until the rain stops," she heard herself saying. Lorenzo's smile was barely perceptible, but it transformed his entire face. Just until the rain stops. The SUV's interior was a study in luxury. Leather seats that probably cost more than Serena's monthly salary, climate control that immediately began warming their chilled skin, and privacy glass that separated them from the driver. Lucy curled up against Serena's side, her exhaustion finally overcoming her excitement. "Where to?" Lorenzo asked, settling across from them with fluid grace. The question she'd been dreading. We don't have anywhere to go tonight. The shelter is full and I just need somewhere dry until morning." Lorenzo studied her for a long moment, his amber eyes unreadable. "You'll stay at my house. I can't possibly—" "You can and you will." His tone brooked no argument. "Your daughter needs warmth, food, and rest. I can provide all three." Serena wanted to protest, but Lucy had already fallen asleep against her shoulder, tiny body finally relaxing for the first time in hours. How could she wake her child to drag her back into the storm? "Just for tonight," she whispered. "Just for tonight," Lorenzo agreed, but something in his voice suggested he didn't believe it any more than she did. As the SUV glided through Chicago's rain-slicked streets, Serena caught Lorenzo watching them in the reflection of the window. His expression was unguarded for just a moment, soft, almost vulnerable. It was gone so quickly she might have imagined it, but the memory lingered like warmth in her chest. She had no idea she'd just entered the orbit of the most dangerous man in Chicago, and he had no idea that this rain-soaked encounter would become his salvation and his greatest weakness. The DiCarlo mansion rose from Chicago's Gold Coast like a monument to power. Serena pressed her face to the SUV window, taking in the iron gates, manicured grounds, and limestone facade that spoke of old money and older secrets. This wasn't just wealth, this was dynasty. "Jesus," she breathed, then immediately covered her mouth, glancing at sleeping Lucy. Lorenzo noticed her reaction with something that might have been amusement. "Not what you expected." "I didn't expect anything. She gestured helplessly at the grandeur surrounding them. "What do you do for a living?" "Import and export," he said smoothly, the practiced lie rolling off his tongue. "Family business." The SUV stopped beneath a covered portico, where uniformed staff waited despite the late hour. Lorenzo stepped out first, then carefully lifted Lucy from Serena's arms. The child didn't wake, simply nestled against his broad chest with complete trust. Watching him carry her daughter with such gentle precision, Serena felt something dangerous flutter in her chest. This man, whoever he really was being kinder to them than anyone had been in months. The mansion's interior was breathtaking. Marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, original artwork lined the walls, and a grand staircase curved upward like something from a movie. Serena's wet sneakers squeaked against the polished stone, each sound echoing her displacement in this world of luxury. "Maria will show you to your rooms," Lorenzo said, nodding to an elegant older woman who appeared as if summoned. "Anything you need, just ask." "Rooms? Plural?" Serena's voice cracked slightly. "The child should have her own space," Lorenzo said matter-of-factly. "Children need security." He spoke with the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed, but also with unexpected insight into what Lucy might need. Serena followed Maria up the staircase, acutely aware of her second-hand clothes and tangled hair in this palace of perfection. The guest suite was larger than their entire apartment had been. Lucy's adjoining room was a little girl's dream. Soft pink walls, a canopy bed, and toys that looked like they'd never been touched. Maria had somehow produced child-sized pajamas and promised breakfast would be ready whenever they woke. Alone finally, Serena sank onto the king-sized bed and let the tears come. Relief, gratitude, and bone-deep exhaustion crashed over her in waves. For the first time in months, Lucy was safe and warm. For the first time in years, Serena wasn't carrying the weight of their survival alone. A soft knock interrupted her breakdown. She wiped her eyes quickly, expecting Maria with towels or toiletries. Instead, Lorenzo stood in the doorway, no longer the commanding figure from the street. He'd changed into dark jeans and a black sweater, his hair slightly mussed, looking almost normal. "I brought you something to eat," he said, carrying a tray that smelled like heaven. "You haven't eaten today." It wasn't a question. Somehow he'd observed what she'd tried to hide, that she'd given Lucy the last of their food that morning. "You don't have to take care of us," Serena said, but her stomach betrayed her with an audible growl. Lorenzo set the tray on the bedside table, gourmet soup, fresh bread and wine that probably cost more than her car payment. "When did you last have a real meal?" The question was asked gently, but Serena heard the steel underneath. This man was accustomed to getting answers. "I eat," she said defensively. "That's not what I asked." He moved closer, and she caught that intoxicating scent again, expensive and dangerous. "When did you last eat a meal you didn't have to choose between and paying rent?" The accuracy of his observation hit like a physical blow. Serena's carefully constructed walls crumbled. 3 months, she whispered. "Maybe 4. I lost my job when the company downsized. Lucy's father. He's never been in the picture. I've been trying to make it work, but Chicago is so expensive and childcare costs more than I can make and—" She was rambling, words spilling out like water through a broken dam. Lorenzo listened without judgment, his amber eyes focused entirely on her, as if she were the only person in the world. "You're a good mother," he said simply when she finished. The unexpected kindness broke something inside her. Fresh tears spilled over, and before she could stop herself, she was sobbing. Ugly. Desperate tears that she'd held back for months. Lorenzo hesitated for just a moment, then sat beside her on the bed. His arms came around her carefully as if she might break, and Serena found herself pressed against his chest, breathing in his warmth and strength. "It's okay," he murmured, his voice rumbling through his chest. "You're safe now, both of you." Serena knew she should pull away. She didn't know this man, didn't know why he was helping them, didn't understand the dangerous current running between them. But his arms felt like the first safe harbor she'd found in years, and she couldn't make herself let go. When her tears finally subsided, she became acutely aware of their position, her face pressed against his neck, his hand stroking her hair with surprising gentleness, the solid warmth of his body against hers. She pulled back slowly, meeting his gaze. The air between them crackled with sudden tension. Lorenzo's eyes had darkened, his breathing slightly uneven. His hand was still tangled in her hair, and for a moment, Serena thought he might kiss her. Instead, he stood abruptly, putting distance between them. "Eat," he said, his voice rougher now. "Rest. Tomorrow we'll figure out what comes next." He was almost to the door when Serena found her voice. "Why are you doing this, really?" Lorenzo paused, his hand on the doorframe. When he turned back, his expression was unguarded again, vulnerable in a way that made her chest tight. "Because your daughter looked at me like I could be her hero," he said quietly. "And no one's looked at me like that in a very long time." After he left, Serena sat in the silence of the opulent room, her heart racing. She was attracted to him, dangerously so. But more than that, she was beginning to care about the man beneath the expensive clothes and commanding presence. She had no idea that caring about Lorenzo DiCarlo was the most dangerous thing she could possibly do. 3 days had passed since the storm, and Serena was beginning to understand that nothing about their situation was temporary. Lorenzo had quietly arranged for Lucy to be enrolled in the prestigious private school near his mansion, complete with uniforms and supplies that appeared overnight. He'd had designer clothes delivered for Serena, not flashy, but perfectly tailored pieces that made her feel beautiful for the first time in years. When she'd protested the expense, he'd simply said, "You're under my protection now. You'll dress accordingly." The possessiveness in his tone should have alarmed her. Instead, It sent heat spiraling through her chest. This morning she'd woken to find Lucy in the garden with Lorenzo, both of them covered in dirt as they planted flowers. Watching through the window, Serena's heart had clenched at the sight of her daughter's pure joy. Lucy was blooming here, growing confident and secure in ways that broke and healed Serena's heart simultaneously. "Mommy!" Lucy burst into the kitchen where Serena was helping Maria prepare lunch. "Lorenzo taught me about roses. Did you know they have thorns to protect themselves?" "I did know that, sweetheart." Serena smiled, brushing dirt from Lucy's cheek. "Just like people sometimes have walls to protect themselves." "Lorenzo has walls," Lucy said with 6-year-old wisdom. "But I think he's really soft inside, like a marshmallow." If only she knew, Serena thought, watching Lorenzo enter the kitchen. He'd shed his suit jacket, his white dress shirt rolled up to reveal strong forearms and that tantalizing glimpse of tattoo. The top 4 buttons were undone, showing the muscled chest that had haunted her dreams for 3 nights running. "Lunch is almost ready," Maria announced, bustling around them with practiced efficiency. "Actually," Lorenzo said, his eyes finding Serena's, "I thought we might go out today. Lucy mentioned she's never been to Navy Pier." Lucy's squeal of excitement filled the kitchen. Serena's stomach dropped. "Oh, we couldn't impose." "It's not an imposition." Lorenzo's tone was final. "It's Saturday. Families do things together on Saturday." Families. The word hung in the air like a promise and a threat. An hour later, they were walking along Navy Pier, Lucy skipping between them as she marveled at the street performers and lake views. Lorenzo had traded his usual all-black ensemble for dark jeans and a navy sweater that made his eyes look like liquid gold. He looked almost normal if you ignored the way people instinctively stepped aside when they saw him coming. "Ice cream." Lucy pointed at a vendor with the single-minded focus of childhood. "After lunch," Serena said automatically, then caught herself. She wasn't paying for anything here. She had no right to make decisions about treats or timing. Lorenzo noticed her hesitation immediately. "Ice cream sounds perfect," he told Lucy, then looked at Serena with an expression that was both gentle and implacable. "She's a child. Children should have ice cream whenever they want it." As they waited in line, Serena became aware of the stares. Women looked at Lorenzo with naked appreciation and envy directed at her. Men assessed him with the wariness reserved for apex predators. A few people seemed to recognize him, their faces paling before they quickly looked away. "People know you," she observed quietly. "I have a recognizable face," he said, but there was tension in his shoulders now. Lucy, oblivious to the undercurrents, charmed the vendor into giving her extra sprinkles. As they found a bench overlooking the lake, Serena watched Lorenzo with her daughter, patient, attentive, genuinely engaged. He answered her endless questions about boats and birds and buildings with the same seriousness he'd probably use in business meetings. "You're good with her," Serena said softly. Lorenzo's expression darkened slightly. "I had a sister once. She would have been about Lucy's age now." The past tense hit Serena like a physical blow. "What happened?" "She died when I was 17. Car accident." His voice was carefully neutral, but Serena heard the pain underneath. "My parents never recovered. They died within 2 years of each other. Grief, the doctors said." "I'm sorry." The words felt inadequate, but Lorenzo nodded acknowledgement. "It's why I do what I do," he said, watching Lucy feed pieces of cone to the seagulls. "Family is everything. Protecting family is everything." The intensity in his voice made Serena's pulse quicken. There was something he wasn't telling her, something important about his work, his life, the reason people recognized and feared him. But in this moment, with Lucy laughing and the sun sparkling on Lake Michigan, she didn't want to ask questions that might shatter this perfect bubble. They were walking back to the car when it happened. A man approached them, tall, lean, with the kind of expensive casual wear that screamed new money. His eyes were fixed on Serena with an appreciation that made her skin crawl. "Excuse me," he said, stepping into their path. "I couldn't help but notice you from across the pier. You're absolutely stunning." Serena felt Lorenzo go very still beside her. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. "Thank you, but I'm with someone," Serena said politely. instinctively moving closer to Lorenzo. This guy. The stranger looked Lorenzo up and down dismissively. Come on, sweetheart. A woman like you deserves better than some wannabe tough guy. I've got a yacht in the harbor. Why don't you ditch the dead weight and let me show you how a real man treats a lady? The silence that followed was deafening. Serena felt the danger radiating from Lorenzo like heat from a furnace. His hand moved to the small of her back, possessive, protective, claiming. You need to walk away, Lorenzo said quietly. Right now. Something in his voice, the absolute certainty of violence, finally penetrated the stranger's arrogance. His face paled as he really looked at Lorenzo for the first time, taking in the predatory stillness, the expensive watch, the way other people had unconsciously cleared a circle around them. Sorry, man. Didn't realize she was taken. She's not taken, Lorenzo said, his voice carrying across the suddenly quiet pier. She's mine. There's a difference. The stranger fled. Serena stood frozen, her heart hammering against her ribs. The possessiveness in Lorenzo's voice should have terrified her. Instead, it sent liquid heat pooling in her stomach. Lorenzo, she whispered. He turned to her, and she saw something wild in his amber eyes, something that spoke of ownership and obsession, and the kind of desire that could destroy worlds. Are you? He asked, his voice rough. Mine? The question hung between them like a lit fuse. Serena was dimly aware of Lucy tugging on her hand, asking about the pretty boats, but all she could see was Lorenzo's face. All she could feel was the heat of his hand on her back. I don't even know who you really are, she whispered. You know enough. He stepped closer, his free hand coming up to cup her cheek. You know I'd die before I let anyone hurt you or Lucy. You know I'd kill anyone who tried to take you from me. You know that since the moment I saw you in that rain, you've been the only thing that matters. The raw honesty in his voice broke something open inside her. Lorenzo, say it, he demanded, his thumb tracing her lower lip. Say you're mine. Around them, the world continued. Families enjoying the sunshine, children laughing, boats cutting through the blue water. But in their bubble of tension and desire, there was only this moment, this choice, this man who looked at her like she was salvation and damnation wrapped in one. I'm yours, she breathed. Lorenzo's smile was fierce and possessive and beautiful. Then we go home, he said, and I show you exactly what that means. As they walked back to the SUV, Lucy chattering happily between them, Serena realized she'd just crossed a line she couldn't uncross. She belonged to Lorenzo DiCarlo now, completely, irrevocably, dangerously. She should have been terrified. Instead, she'd never felt more alive. The revelation came like a sledgehammer to the chest. Serena stood in Lorenzo's study, staring at the newspaper article on his desk. A grainy photo of him leaving a courthouse, the headline screaming, Mafia boss Lorenzo DiCarlo acquitted on all charges. The words blurred as her world tilted sideways. She'd come looking for him to ask about Lucy's school enrollment, only to find his private sanctuary filled with evidence of who he really was. Security monitors showing every angle of the property. A safe standing open, revealing stacks of cash and weapons. And newspapers, dozens of them, chronicling the rise of the DiCarlo crime family. You weren't supposed to see that. Lorenzo's voice from the doorway made her jump. He stood perfectly still, his expression unreadable, but she could feel the tension radiating from him like electricity. Mafia, she whispered, the word feeling foreign on her tongue. You're actually... God, Lorenzo, what have you done to us? I've protected you. He stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. Everything I've done has been to keep you and Lucy safe. Safe? Serena's voice cracked with hysteria. I've been living in a criminal's house. I've been letting my daughter... She couldn't finish the sentence, couldn't voice the terror clawing at her throat. I'm the same man who carried Lucy to bed every night this week, Lorenzo said quietly. The same man who held you when you cried. The same man who... Who kills people? The words exploded from her. Don't you? That's what the Mafia does. They kill people. Lorenzo's jaw tightened. I protect my family. I protect what's mine. We're not your family. But even as she said it, Serena knew it wasn't true. Lucy had been calling him Papa for 2 days now, and Serena hadn't corrected her. They'd been playing house in his mansion, pretending this fairy tale could last. "Aren't you?" Lorenzo moved closer, his amber eyes burning with intensity. "Lucy runs to me when she has nightmares. You wear the clothes I bought you, sleep in my house, eat at my table. You said you were mine." "I didn't know what that meant." "It means everything." His voice was raw, desperate. "It means you're under my protection forever. It means no one touches you, no one hurts you, no one takes you from me." Serena backed toward the window, her heart hammering. "This is insane. You're talking like you own us." "I do own you." The words were said with such quiet certainty that they hit like physical blows. "Body and soul, Serena. You gave yourself to me. I was desperate, I was homeless and scared, and I saved you." Lorenzo's control finally cracked, his voice rising. "I gave you everything. I gave Lucy a father. So I gave you a home, security, love." "Love?" Serena laughed bitterly. "This isn't love, Lorenzo. This is obsession. This is possession. This is—" The study door burst open. Lucy stood there in her school uniform, tears streaming down her face. "Why are you yelling?" she sobbed. "Why is Mommy crying? Are the monsters coming back?" The sight of her daughter's terror cut through Serena's panic like a blade. She dropped to her knees, pulling Lucy into her arms. "No, baby, no monsters. Mommy we just need to go away for a while." "Go away?" Lucy's eyes widened in horror. "But this is home. Lorenzo is here. I don't want to go away." Over Lucy's head, Serena met Lorenzo's gaze. The pain in his amber eyes was devastating, raw and real and completely at odds with the dangerous man she'd just discovered him to be. "You can't leave," he said quietly. "It's not safe." "Not safe from who? Your enemies? Or from you?" The question hung in the air like poison. Lorenzo's face went completely blank, his expression shuddering. "Pack whatever you need," he said finally. "Marcus will drive you wherever you want to go." The dismissal in his voice was like a slap. Serena had expected him to fight, to argue, to use his power to keep them here. Instead, he was letting them go, and somehow that hurt worse than anything. "Lorenzo, go." He turned away, his shoulders rigid. "Before I change my mind." An hour later, Serena sat in the back of an SUV with Lucy curled against her side, both of them crying. Marcus, Lorenzo's head of security, drove in silence toward the modest hotel Serena had requested. In her purse was an envelope Lorenzo had pressed into her hands, enough cash to last them months, along with a business card for a job interview he'd somehow arranged. "I want to go home," Lucy whispered. "I want Lorenzo." "I know, baby, I know." But as Chicago's skyline blurred past the windows, Serena wondered if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. Lorenzo was dangerous, she couldn't deny that now. But he'd also been gentle with Lucy, patient with her endless questions, tender with Serena in ways that had made her feel cherished for the first time in her life. The hotel room was clean but sterile, nothing like the warm luxury of the mansion. Lucy cried herself to sleep, clutching the stuffed elephant Lorenzo had bought her at Navy Pier. Serena sat by the window, staring out at the city lights and wondering how everything had gone so wrong so quickly. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "He hasn't eaten in 2 days. He won't leave his study. Whatever happened between you, he's destroying himself." The message was from Maria, she realized. Sweet Maria, who'd treated them like family, who'd probably watched Lorenzo spiral into whatever darkness he'd inhabited before they arrived. Another text. "He loves you. Really loves you. I've worked for this family for 20 years, and I've never seen him like this." Serena closed her eyes, torn between the life she'd glimpsed with Lorenzo and the reality of what he was. How could she love a man who lived by violence? How could she expose Lucy to that world? But how could she live without him? The answer came at 3 a.m. when Lucy woke screaming from a nightmare. "The monsters are back," she sobbed. "Where's Lorenzo? He promised to keep the monsters away." As Serena held her daughter, she realized the truth that had been staring her in the face all along. Lorenzo wasn't the monster in their story. He was the one who'd been keeping the real monsters at bay. And now they were alone in the dark again, with nothing but each other and the memory of what it felt like to be truly safe. The question was love worth the risk? Looking at her daughter's tear-stained face, Serena began to think it might be. The call came at dawn. Serena jolted awake to her phone ringing, Lucy still sleeping fitfully beside her. The number was unknown, but something made her answer. "Miss Hale." The voice was professional, controlled. "This is Detective Rivera, Chicago PD. We need you to come to Northwestern Memorial Hospital immediately." Her blood turned to ice. "What happened?" "Lorenzo DiCarlo was shot 3 hours ago. He's asking for you." The world tilted. Serena's hand shook as she ended the call, her mind reeling. Shot. Lorenzo had been shot, and somehow even dying, he was asking for her. "Mommy." Lucy stirred, sensing the tension. "What's wrong?" "We need to go somewhere, baby. Get dressed quickly." The hospital was a maze of sterile corridors and antiseptic smells. Detective Rivera met them in the waiting area, a tired-looking woman with kind eyes and the bearing of someone who'd seen too much. "He's stable," she said without preamble. "Surgery went well, but Miss Hale, I need you to understand something. This wasn't random. Someone put a hit on Lorenzo DiCarlo, and by association, you and your daughter are now targets." Serena's legs nearly gave out. "Targets? The Kozlov family has been trying to move into DiCarlo territory for months. They see you as his weakness, leverage to use against him." Rivera's expression was grim. "He's had men watching your hotel since you left. That's the only reason you're still alive." The words hit like physical blows. Even after she'd left him, even after she'd rejected everything he'd offered, Lorenzo had been protecting them. "Can we see him?" Serena whispered. Rivera nodded. "Room 314, but Miss Hale, he's not the same man you left. The shooting, it changed something in him." They found Lorenzo propped up in bed, his chest wrapped in bandages, his face pale, but his amber eyes burning with an intensity that took Serena's breath away. The moment he saw them, his entire body relaxed as if he'd been holding himself together through sheer will. "Papa." Lucy broke free from Serena's hand and ran to the bed, careful not to jostle him as she climbed up beside him. "There's my brave girl," Lorenzo murmured, his voice rough with emotion as he wrapped his good arm around her. Over Lucy's head, his eyes found Serena's. "You came." "Of course I came." Serena moved closer, her heart breaking at the sight of him, this powerful, dangerous man brought low by bullets meant to destroy him. "Lorenzo, I'm so sorry. I should never have left. You were right to leave." His voice was quiet, final. "I'm exactly what you said I am. A monster, a killer, someone who destroys everything he touches." "No." The word came out fiercer than Serena intended. "You're the man who saved us. You're the man who carried Lucy to bed every night, who held me when I cried, who made us feel safe for the first time in years." Lorenzo's expression cracked slightly. "I put you in danger just by caring about you. The Kozlovs can go to hell," Serena said firmly, surprising herself with her vehemence. "I don't care about the Kozlovs or the danger or any of it. I care about you. I love you." The words hung in the air like a confession and a promise. Lorenzo's eyes widened, hope and disbelief warring in his expression. "You love me," he repeated, as if testing the words. "I love you," Serena confirmed, moving to sit on the edge of his bed. "I love the way you listen to Lucy's stories like they're the most important things in the world. I love how you make me feel beautiful and cherished and safe. I love that you'd rather die than let anyone hurt us. Serena." His voice broke on her name. "I don't care what you do for a living," she continued, her hand finding his. "I don't care about the danger or the complications or what people will think. I care about this, us, our family, the life we can build together." Lorenzo brought her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her palm. "It won't be easy. There will always be threats, always be people who want to use you against me. Then we'll face them together." Serena's voice was steady, certain, "All three of us." "Are we going home now?" Lucy asked, looking between them with 6-year-old wisdom. "Because I missed my room, and Maria promised to teach me how to make cookies, and the monsters are really loud at the hotel." Lorenzo laughed, a sound of pure joy that transformed his entire face. "Yes, Principessa." We're going home. All of us, Lucy pressed. Forever and ever. Lorenzo looked at Serena, his amber eyes burning with love and possession and promises of protection that would last a lifetime. Forever and ever, he confirmed, if your mama will have me. Serena leaned down and kissed him, pouring all her love and fear and hope into the contact. When they broke apart, both of them were crying. I'll have you, she whispered against his lips. For better or worse, in sickness and health, through danger and safety, I'll have you, Lorenzo Di Carlo. Then marry me, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Marry me, and let me spend the rest of my life keeping you safe, making you happy, loving you the way you deserve to be loved. Yes, Serena breathed. Yes, yes, yes. Lucy clapped her hands in delight. Does this mean Lorenzo is really my papa now? I've been your papa since the moment I met you, Lorenzo told her seriously. But now it's official. As they sat together in that hospital room, Lorenzo healing, Serena finally home, Lucy secure in the love of both her parents, Serena realized that sometimes salvation came in the most unexpected packages. Sometimes the monster turned out to be the hero. Sometimes love really was worth any risk. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, the man who saved you from the storm turned out to be the one who'd been waiting his whole life to love you. Outside, Chicago hummed with its usual chaos, crime and corruption, power and politics, the eternal dance of predator and prey. But in room 314, 3 hearts that had been broken by life found their way back to wholeness, together. Years later, Serena Di Carlo stood in the garden of their Gold Coast mansion, watching her husband teach their daughter about the roses he'd planted the day after they'd returned from the hospital. Lucy was 12 now, all legs and attitude, but she still melted when Lorenzo explained the symbolism of different flowers. The white ones mean new beginnings, he was saying, his hands gentle as he showed her how to prune the stems. And the red ones mean love. Lucy finished with the patience of someone who'd heard this lecture many times. Papa, I know. You've only told me 1,000,000 times. Lorenzo laughed, the sound rich and warm in the afternoon air. The years had been good to him. The lines around his eyes were from laughter now instead of violence, though he was still the most feared man in Chicago when he needed to be. Mama, Lucy called, spotting Serena by the kitchen window. Come help us. Papa's being sentimental about the flowers again. Serena smiled, one hand resting on her rounded belly where their second child grew. They'd married in a small ceremony 6 months after the shooting, with Lucy as maid of honor and half of Chicago's underworld in attendance. It had been unconventional, dangerous, and absolutely perfect. The Kozlov threat had been handled permanently. Lorenzo never spoke of exactly how, and Serena never asked. Some things were better left in the darkness where they belonged. Don't cry, Mommy, Lucy had said on their wedding day, echoing the words that had started it all. Maybe that man can help us. And he had, in ways Serena never could have imagined. As she walked toward her family, Serena reflected on the strange turns life could take. She'd started as a desperate single mother with nowhere to go, and now she was the wife of the most powerful man in the city, mother to his children, queen of an empire built on love as much as fear. Lorenzo looked up as she approached, his amber eyes still capable of making her heart race after all these years. What are you thinking about, Mrs. Di Carlo? He asked, pulling her into his arms despite Lucy's dramatic gagging sounds. Just remembering a rainy night, Serena said, standing on her toes to kiss him. And a little girl who believed in heroes. Good thing she was right, Lorenzo murmured against her lips. The best thing, Serena agreed, and as their daughter rolled her eyes and went back to her roses, Lorenzo and Serena held each other in the garden they'd built together, a place where love bloomed despite the thorns, where monsters became protectors, and where sometimes, if you were very lucky, the storm brought you exactly where you needed to be. Home. And that's how love conquered Chicago's most dangerous streets here at Passion and Power. Sometimes the greatest love stories begin with the simplest acts of kindness, and sometimes the most dangerous men make the most devoted protectors. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales where passion meets power in the most unexpected ways. Your support helps us bring these emotional journeys to life every week. Until next time, remember that love can bloom anywhere, even in the heart of the storm.